Hey, good evening. This is Gray from Wakazaki's Tea House over in Japan. How are you doing? Are you good? Are you Genki? Have you recovered from Star Trek Picard? I know I have. I had a lot of help with that, with Nerdporeal and Alex from the White Cloaks, yeah, and Salty in the chat. They brought me out of my, not depression, but just disappointment. And anyway, enough of that. We've got better things to talk about. Today we're going to talk about Midnight Cowboy, which is a 1969 American drama with a fantastic performance by Dustin Hoffman and John Voight. He's pretty young in that. The director's name I can't pronounce, so I'm going to try once and then I'll bring Nerdporeal and Salty in to correct me. John Schlesinger or Schlesinger, I had no idea. So anyway, let's bring them in. Here's Nerdporeal Cowboy. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Joe? I think Schlesinger.
Ah, thank you. Yes, it's a difficult name to pronounce, but I'll take the I'm British, so I don't know excuse. And let's bring in Salty, traveling, C.
Schlesingers.
No. Slongingers.
We were having a cool conversation before we went live about this and some of the context and some of the backstory of this movie. The movie itself is fantastic, but some of the crazy things that went on while this movie was being made, after it was made, for the awards ceremony, and then between Dustin Hoffman and John Voight are kind of crazy. So, yeah.
Oh, really? I look forward to hearing about that. Yeah, we've got Salty here for his background because I think he was 20 years old when this was filmed. Is that right, Salty? 1969?
You can eat my something that begins with A and ends with S. How about that?
But yeah, it's a 1969 film, just on the end, the edge of the 60s, coming into the 70s. Nerdporeal was talking about the darkness of the 70s movies. We're kind of getting in the darkness with this, aren't we? It's moving into it. We're going from counterculture, from the kind of hippie scene, to a dark and seedy New York.
Yeah, a lot of this has to do with how the commodification of what Hollywood does with social trends, and other YouTubers, much larger than any of us, have talked about it. Now, are trends where Hollywood goes to die? No. Trends are where Hollywood takes and then expands upon them and breaks them down. And in some cases, those trends do die, like roller disco or other things like that. In the case of this, you had a lot of auteur directors coming out around this time. This is when George Lucas started to make films. This is when, oh God, what the hell is this? The guy who made Apocalypse Now. I can never remember.
Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola.
It's when Coppola was making movies.
American Zoetrope.
You had a lot of things happening that were not on the big screen previously. You still had major musicals that were coming out in the 60s being big hits. But movies like this in 69, what came out, not just Midnight Cowboy, but also Easy Rider the same year, which is kind of wild when you think about it. But I don't want to talk too much, but I just think it's one of those things to look at important context. Now, I was born a year after this movie came out, but I remember seeing this movie on VHS with my parents along with other movies. But and the other thing that you were seeing was it was the change of, even the Westerns changed dramatically that year, because in 69, John Wayne, True Grit came out, the only Academy Award that John Wayne ever won was for True Grit. In addition to that, you also had Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and Once Upon a Time in the West came out that year. So pretty wild.
Look at you, Salty, with the knowledge.
In the West, jeez, great movie.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you were seeing cinema change. Now, was that good? Was that bad? But my God, put any of those films. I mean, Once Upon a Time in the West is a mind-blowing experience even now. And that's why we look at things like Picard or Disney Star Wars. I thank you. Yeah, it's something like that.
Very close up, and you see just very, 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 very menacing shot of Henry Fonda just looking right at the kid.
Dude, I mean,
and what's funny is I was watching that movie. The little kid, you know, the little kid reminded me of Easton, and that whole family reminded me of Prophet's family.
Hail Easton,
dude. But I mean,
so dark. They
knew how to use space. They knew how to have this. They knew how to fill a big screen. And that's why these movies look so damn good on DVD and even on VHS.
Yes.
They look good because, especially in Once Upon a Time in the West, and I would arguably say even in Midnight Cowboy with the exterior scenes, and we'll probably get into that.
Oh God, I love them, Salty. I love them all.
But I mean, New York City, people are treating these cities and these locations as what they are, which is they are another co-star in a movie. And when you don't have that, and I heard you guys talking about this in your Picard show, and we talked about it after your show last night when we were hanging out with Steve, is that these are small, little, tiny boxes of little, tiny things with little, tiny people doing little, tiny stories by little, tiny minds. And you know, what is different? What is different? And I keep saying this, the reason why we're getting shit entertainment is the people who are writing it don't have any life experience. It's not like they've served their country, generally speaking. It's not like they've raising a family, that they have challenges. No, they're changing their pronouns and spending time on social media. That doesn't give you a breadth of human emotional like intelligence or experience to create compelling stories. But it's a salty rant. I'm sorry. You're
muted. You're muted, Gray.
I'm muted. Sorry, Salty, to cover you up. Shouting out the chat, we have here, Zach's popped in before. Nosferatu the Vampire's here. Great to see you. And welcome to Grim, who says he hails from the UK. Like me. Great to see you, mate. Thanks for dropping in. That's awesome. Nosferatu saying, I loved how Taxi Driver shows the real grit of the 70s, Salty. 70s New York. It looked like a shithole because it was.
And that's kind of the thing. You know, we should talk just about that, about movie locations and how locations have changed, because I've lived enough time on this planet to have watched a tiny bustling mill town with a very big bustling middle class of blue collar people turn into a drug infested shithole. And I go back to this tiny little town that I was born in, and it still has a lot of the same architecture. There's my grandmother's house, but the passage of time and the degeneration of those things, it hurts your heart, you know? And it's wild, because you're starting to see in some of these situations, places like New York City, it had peaked and really was starting to fall a little bit. It really wasn't until the mid 70s, early 70s when things just fell apart. Really, for a lot of reasons. And that was about the time that we had inflation. We got taken off the gold standard that affected our dollar. A lot of the industry that we had in the United States, which flourished because we were the only country not blown to shit by World War II. They were starting to build factories in other places like Japan, like Korea, like all these other places that would undercut us. So was that the high watermark of the American dream and the American experience? Is probably the late 60s, early 70s. I don't know. But you're starting to see, in my opinion, and again, I'm just one idiot, you're starting to see what that looks like in just sort of society kind of deviate a little bit. So.
Wow. Thanks, man. That's cool. I don't know how to follow up with that, but yeah, what you were saying, just some of the, you talked about close-ups, Solly. There's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of facial close-ups, but when they show the outside, the outdoors, the exteriors, you know, the streets shots, it's kind of far away. So you get this lovely mix, you know, of like extreme close-ups on faces, and then these beautiful like city shots where even when it's dirty and, you know, a bit seedy, it still looks, to me as an outsider, you know, well, not from America, I just love seeing that. It's like a time capsule, you know, a photograph of America, 1968, 1969.
A lot of those were family shops. A lot of those shops had probably been started before World War II.
Like this,
and
look
a lot
at this,
of those
I love
families,
this.
There are still places like this in America. I mean, you can drive down the road. Now, there's a lot of them in Wyoming and Montana, these one little horse towns. We have places like that where I live now, and you're going to find them across Texas, all across the Midwest. You will still find places like this. But even since 2000, places like this have ceased to exist. But this is where you went when I was a kid. You went to places like this to go to eat. You know, like in a drive-in or something like that. Or my dad would get drunk at a place like this, and I'd be 8 and drive the truck home, you know, when I was a kid. For it. It's a true story. You know what that did? That built character. Something people today, younger generations, could benefit from. But I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole.
No, you're not. You know, you're speaking of experience, from experience. Yeah. Let's ask Nerdporeal. You know, when you see this kind of outdoor... This is still Texas, isn't it? He's coming from Texas to New York, and these like outdoor shots of these old buildings. How does it make you feel? Even the cars, Nerdporeal. I love the car designs.
It just makes me think like whoever was filming this, they caught some really great shots of these old, really old buildings, these old restaurants, and it just makes me want to just go there and just check it out for vintage sake. We see a lot of that. We see a lot of interesting shots that they drive by. I'm assuming he's on the bus during this part.
Just got on the bus now, just leaving whether it's Oklahoma or Texas, but yeah, mom and pop diners, they're the apex of the American gastronomic experience, says Nosferatu.
I love period pieces, and to me this is a period piece showing. What's funny is an even earlier period with these buildings right here, and it's just there's a lot of depth to this movie. I can't wait till we actually really get into it.
Me too. Just want to go back here. What do you think about this? This is John Voight, the main character. How cool is he here with his cowboy getup and his Dalmatian coat suitcase?
Yeah, I mean, a Dalmatian coat suitcase. Like you'd think he was a pimp. Not a pimp. He's the opposite.
I'm a hustler, baby.
He's a hustler. He's basically, been selling himself for money in New York, in the big city. And he's naive. And what's funny is his name is Joe Buck, not to confuse the famous sportscaster, the famous American sportscaster.
Joe Buck. Okay, I don't know that. I missed that reference. But the fact that he's when he's leaving his job, he's working in a kitchen, isn't he, in a diner, and he's talking to his friend. He's saying, "What are you going to do? There's a lot of like rich ladies, lonely ladies out in New York City. You know what I mean?" That's it. He's going to be basically a sex worker, isn't he?
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what he's going for, and he's just happy. Like right now, we're hearing Harry Nilsson music. We're hearing the same song over. We're hearing this very upbeat song. So when he's in I think what's going on is when he's in good spirits, like he is now. He's excited to be going to the big city. He's exhilarated. He's got a goal that he's trying to do. And we hear the Harry Nilsson music right here, or Nilsson Schmilson. And it's just so uplifting. It's a very uplifting theme.
I love this track. I love it.
This movie gets pretty freaking dark.
It does get dark, and that's a great point you made. It is an uplifting song. I always liked it right from the start when I first heard it. Everybody's Talking. Words and music by Fred Neil, it says. Of course, sung by Nielsen, but Nerdporeal, what I'd forgotten is John Barry. James Bond, John Barry did the main theme. That lovely kind of, what's the word? No, sentimental a little bit. Like sad, but main theme to it. I can't play it. I wish I could.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though, like, this, like, the first thing you see is he has all these awkward conversations in the beginning of this movie. What's up, Angry
Yeah.
Baby? He has all these awkward conversations with people all over, like, he's talking to people on the he's talking to people on the bus. He's playing little, he's playing peekaboo with that little girl. He was trying to talk to her. He was talking to everybody. And he's a lonely dude. He has nobody.
Did you see the comic? Did you notice? It's Wonder Woman. So around 1968, 1969 when they filmed it. Look at that. That's a classic bit of Americana there.
And what's funny is he's in the I'm skipping ahead, but he's in Dustin Hoffman's place.
Okay.
And I think he's sitting down. I think he was reading something. I thought it was a magazine, but no, I think he's reading a comic book.
Yes, he is. Yeah. So you see comics a couple of times in this. As a comic fan, I was really happy to see that.
And back in the 60s, if you were caught reading a comic, or if you were caught doing anything nerdy, you either got beat up or your parents would have it talking to you or something. Like in Halloween, like what's his name? Little Tommy Wallace had to hide his comic books because his parents didn't want him to have them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So here he's trying to talk to this old dude, and this old dude's just kind of looking at him. And it just kind of tells you, just how America has kind of become, this is just my opinion, but how America, or people in general, have become less trusting of strangers.
Oh,
that's during this time.
Is it a stereotype, Nerdporeal, that people from the South are friendlier than people, say, in the big cities?
Southern hospitality,
Yeah.
I'm just a dipshit from Chicago.
I'm just a scumbag from Manchester, mate. That's what I felt. But again, these close-ups, we keep getting these. Well, it's not too close-up, but these awesome actor faces. And he seems to use a lot of older people in this. Have you noticed that? There are a lot of elderly people.
Yeah, I mean, because he's going for. I mean, his target business is going for older women who are rich and probably widows.
Yeah.
They made I remember they made a Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Dennis was trying to be a gigolo, and he was trying to do all the same shit and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't trying to dress to be a cowboy, but he was just, he was trying to be a gigolo, going around hotels trying to, hook up with older women.
Not quite this old. This is a lady who sits next to him on the bus, and he kind of wakes up and she's there, and it's at night time, and he wants to switch off the overhead light, and he switches it off, and she's like, I want it on. And he has to put it back on. But again, the close up, the face, it's very character actor style, isn't it? Very distinctive face.
Look at those glasses too.
Aren't they awesome?
Not as awesome as Cary Grant's glasses in North by Northwest, his sunglasses.
Okay, so this is a scene here where we get quite a lot of flashbacks, don't we, where we see Joe Buck remembering his childhood and remembering a certain event that happened, which I won't go into yet. But here, it looks like he's being dropped off by his mum to his grandma's. Is that right?
Yeah, so, I mean, now I have the book. I have, the synopsis of the book up. The book goes into greater detail.
Oh, awesome.
But more or less, his mother, he's 7 years old, his mother abandons him. And so, I believe they're in Albuquerque, and that's his grandmother. So his grandmother is probably the one person he has a connection to.
Yeah. And
her name's Sally, and the problem is she's a hairdresser, and she neglects him in favor of she has an endless string of boyfriends. And so, but there's one dude, it's weird. It's like she's in this movie. It seems like she's training him to be a lover or something. It's weird. This is a weird. I got weird vibes watching this.
It is weird, yeah.
There's a scene where her and her boyfriend are in bed, and he's in bed with them, which is, it's for grandparent. But that's his only parent. Mother wants nothing to do with him, so by the time he's an adult, he's completely alone because she passed away, the grandmother.
Yeah, that's true. There's some rather uncomfortable scenes, aren't there, where you see him as a young boy, and he's in bed with his grandma and her beau, her new beau. So it doesn't show too much. It's fine, but it's like he's had a weird upbringing.
Yeah, and like, you know, like he actually, according to the book, he had a positive relationship with that one beau that we see, but the thing was, well, they break up, and this father figure leaves his life permanently because of the breakup. So, like, imagine you're a kid and it feels like another person just abandoned you.
Yeah. That's got to be tough. There's a great scene here where another person who sits next to him on the bus, because it's a long trip to New York, isn't it? We have a nun here. I've got a little clip to play here, Nerdporeal. This is it. I just love John Voight's reaction here. Where are we? Let's get the right one. He's listening on the radio. It's a show. It's like a radio show talking about to women. What kind of man are you looking for? Excuse me, ma'am. I love that scene, man. I just love it when he goes.
That's getting him excited. He's like, if this is what New York is in store for me, I'm gonna make a killing.
Yeah,
that's his attitude right there. And he has that radio. He keeps that radio with him. So with him like majority of the time. So it's a shame what ultimately happens to that radio.
Because, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's a key part of the plot in the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a funny scene where he checks into the hotel and he finds out the TV is got a meter on it. You got to put 25 cents in for whatever. And he's like, oh no! So he just puts the radio back on.
I didn't even pick that up. Interesting.
They used to have those when I was a kid.
Is it transistor radio? Is that right, Salty?
Well, yeah, I actually still collect those. I've got a really big one that takes like 8D batteries or something like that. It has its own leather wrapped case. Yeah. But no, I remember staying in shitty hotels as a little kid with my dad. He used to drive a delivery route, and the TVs would be, you could put in like 25 cents for half an hour, or something like that. It was crazy. Same thing with like nickel to use a bathroom, all that type of shit. I mean, of course, New York City, you got to pay to take a breath of air, even now. But unless you're a criminal, then you can do whatever you want. Yeah. I'm sorry I had to hop out. Just was working on a project, but it's interesting the casting choice. Did you guys talk about John Voight not being the first choice for?
No, we didn't.
Role?
No, we didn't. I saw a little bit of that.
So there was a movie called oh Jesus, see, I'm totally blanking. There was another movie with, I think it was What's Up Pussycat or something like that. There was another actor that was this avant-garde counterculture, face of counterculture, and he was up against John Voight. Now they had both screen tested. Schlesinger, the director, wanted that other actor. Well, the casting director saw John Voight, and they started looking at John Voight because the other actor wanted more money as soon as he found out that the other movie that he was in was really good. John Voight wanted this role so bad, he decided he would work for scale. Now, scale is the minimum you pay anybody to be in a movie, like nothing. As a matter of fact, there's a famous story where after this movie finished being shot, they actually gave John Voight a bill of $14 or $15 for his meals, which wasn't covered by what he made being in this movie, because he wanted to be in this movie that bad. And it's true.
Sorry to interrupt. This is the first choice guy, Michael Sarrazin. His name is. He was the first choice. I just checked it. Nice one.
Yeah. But that's a true story. And Schlesinger sweated a lot about this movie. He really, really did. And we can get into that toward the end. But once we get to Dustin Hoffman, talking about Dustin Hoffman and the story of how he ended up in this. But visually, there's something about the color that they used in this film. And you see it in Easy Rider too, where it's a warmer, humaner color. And that's what I try to do with my studio lighting, where it looks a little more natural. You could call it even a little more retro, but it fills the screen. And skin tones, and yes, I know I'm only referring to Caucasians, are a lot warmer, in my opinion, using that kind of lighting. So, yeah.
Nerdporeal, what you want to share here, go for it.
Oh, I was just, I was showing the actor, the actor that was the first choice.
Nice one.
Yeah, this
was
is just the Wikipedia of the.
No, that's all right. Michael
Cowboy.
Sarrazin, it said. I don't know who he was. I don't know him. So he was the first choice apparently. But yeah, where is it? Oh, Harrison Ford auditioned for the role of Joe Buck. It says as well.
Of course he did.
Sarrazin was Schlesinger's first choice. Slazinger's first choice.
Yeah, and he wanted too much money. He wanted too much money, and Voight was like, "I'll do it for nothing," or Scale. And so they hired his ass. And now, I mean, you can't imagine this movie without John Voight. You know, and then Voight. Go ahead.
Was this John Voight's like earliest movie?
No, but it was a big one. And you had Dustin Hoffman, who was the much bigger star because he had just been in The Graduate, I think a year or two before this movie, a completely different type of a character. And we talked about it in the green room before, but people cautioned against Dustin Hoffman being in this movie because he had the potential to be the on-screen heartthrob. Now, Dustin Hoffman is not the most handsome man in the world, and I think he's like...
Mrs. Robinson, are you trying to seduce? Dude.
Exactly.
Saw The Graduate when I was in college. I was watching it, and I swear the same day, because I went to UIC, I go to school. I'm 2005, I'm 20 years old, and I get they're shooting a movie outside the hall that I was supposed to have my Calculus 3. And little Dustin Hoffman was there, and he's shorter than me. He's much shorter than me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and Purple Valkyrie's taller than Dustin Hoffman, if we're honest about it. And she's like this big, purple. But yeah, I mean, Dustin Hoffman, was a well-known commodity. And people said, don't do this movie. You're going to destroy your on-screen image. You can be like Warren Beatty. You can be a heartthrob and all that type of stuff. And he said, no, I want to be a method actor. And we all know the stories of what a pain in the ass Dustin Hoffman was.
Oh, really? I've never heard that. Seriously.
Well, here's another crazy story. So this director, because this was shot in New York City, Dustin Hoffman was doing midnight plays because the guy was crazy, right? He's in New York. He's for the theater. He's a thespian, right? So he's doing off-Broadway midnight plays, and he's hanging out at what they used to call an automat in 1968 in New York City. And then an automat is essentially a place that used to have food where you'd put money in a machine, and everybody was enamored by this. And then you could open the door and take out the food, and then you could do something with it. And I remember even this as a kid. But at that same automat, Dustin Hoffman used to hang out with Gene Hackman, who still was trying to break into things, in addition to other people, which are slipping my mind. But Schlesinger would go hang out with these people who were these off-Broadway kind of counterculture actor, thespian, types. And Dustin Hoffman wanted this role so bad. He apparently didn't sleep for like 2 days and didn't shave and like rolled in garbage just so he could stumble into this automat and convince Schlesinger to give him the role. It's just like... That's how much these people wanted to be actors, and they wanted to be actors in things that mattered. Look what we got now. Just saying.
Yes, people.
Yeah, diversity and inclusion.
This is a great shot, by the way. I just love seeing like all the billboards. You see the Coca-Cola, the vintage Coca-Cola sign. I've never heard of this fake beer, or I'm assuming it's beer. No, it's Scotch whiskey. Scotch whiskey. Scotch whiskey. Yeah.
That's when you've been married for 30 years and you probably have flashbacks to D-Day and you got 8 kids and you're stuck in Manhattan traffic. You're probably drinking that. Probably drinking that in the car, at work, all day. Things were a little looser back in the day,
You've never heard anything like the original soundtrack album, available from 20th Century Fox Records. What
I was trying to see what it is. I was looking during the movie. Can you see it? I can't read it.
Is that Butch? That's not Butch Cassidy, is it?
Let's see if I can scroll in a little bit. Make it bigger, baby.
I can look at what the hot movie was in '68 because
there's a giraffe on the cover.
Dr. Zhivago. Is it
Dr. Dolittle?
No. It's Dr. Dolittle. Yeah.
No
Ryan
way.
nailed it. Yeah, it's Dr. Dolittle with Richard
Rex Harrison.
Rex Harrison.
That's why there's a giraffe on the cover. Nice one.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
Vintage Coca-Cola. Yeah, that was the good stuff. That's before corn syrup. We have to have
didn't they used to put cane sugar in
everything.
Right?
It was pure cane sugar in everything when I was a kid. And
now you got to get the Mexican Coca-Cola in order to get that now.
Yes, but it's not cane sugar. It's genetically modified beet sugar, which is why there's a huge spike in diabetes with the Latino population. But that's not the kind of a show we're here to talk about.
Oh, of course.
No, I tell you, you guys, you nailed it. I love the detail. Again, as someone from the UK, yeah, I could just stare at this photo. Everything in here, the classic yellow taxi cab, on the bottom, all the signs, as you say, the Hague. I think it's whiskey, isn't it? Hague or rye whiskey, something like that. Man, so good. It's a snapshot, isn't it, of another time.
They still had those same old yellow taxis. Like the first time I went to New York, there were still a couple of those kicking around. In I think the first time I was in New York City was 1990. And it was a very different place, but
Hail
it
Whoop,
did.
Whooper. It used to have it, didn't it? It used to have the old in it. Coca-Cola. That's why everyone loved it back in the day.
Yeah, so did Robert Downey Jr. Had a lot of cocaine in him too, but he cleaned up his act, and that worked out well.
I just loved how they made Dustin Hoffman look in this movie. So like a couple of years ago, in The Graduate, he looks very boyish. Mrs. Robinson, are you trying to seduce me? And then you hear Simon Garfunkel, "Hello, darkness, my old friend."
That's
where that movie, that's where that song comes from. Then you see him in this, and he looks like he's like 10 years older. He just looks like a complete, he looks like a ratso. Don't call me ratso.
One of the other ways because he's insane, right? I mean, like as an actor goes, he would walk around the entire production with rocks in his shoes, which is why he has the walk that he did, because he didn't want to try and act like the way he is shuffled and his limp and all that. So this guy had rocks in his shoes the whole time. They're filming this damn thing, and he actually hurt his feet because of it, but he was dedicated to his craft.
Was the character supposed to be club-footed or something? Is that because it kind of looked like that?
Probably, maybe. I mean, it's just that he had a big limp, I mean.
And I'm curious, like, what his I don't think the movie ever goes into detail, but like I was wondering what he was sick with. Do you think it was like an STD or something?
Consumption. It was consumption. Which is another word for tuberculosis.
He had TB, didn't he? Yeah, TB.
Oh, okay.
Guys, I had some more photos to share, but I've done something wrong, and I've screen captured a load, but they've not been saved, so I've been messing around with settings, so it's my fault. Doesn't matter, but as you said, Nerdporeal, Hoffman, when you first see him, he's in this like seedy bar. Joe Buck's gone there because he's pissed off because he had to pay, not for sex, he had to pay the lady he just banged for a taxi fare, yeah? So he's having a drink in the bar, and Dustin Hoffman's like just looking at him, watching his money, he's counting the money in his wallet. And Hoffman's face is awesome, he's like that. Eyeing up the money. He knows he's a score,
Oh, we have to talk about that woman. So she had the dog. He was trying to pick up, different, people on the street. Like he's like, "Where's the Statue of Liberty?" "Oh, you're not trying to ask me about the Statue of Liberty, are you?" He's like, "No." And then she walks away. And then this other woman starts petting her dog, and you're like, "No, let's go. Let's do this." And then he doesn't tell her that he wanted money. So I don't know if he forgot or he just assumed, that she was going to pay him. And then what's funny is she hustles him. She starts crying, and he's like giving her money instead.
Yeah.
He's like, "You want this?"
He gets schooled.
She picks in his wallet and he offers a 10. She goes into his wallet, takes a 20. And he's only got limited money. Like he's like, he brought his life savings with him to New York from Texas.
This is back when $20 was a lot of money as well. 1969, for
was
him on his own,
a lot of money.
Like they went to a restaurant. Like I've been to a restaurant, like just getting like something like eggs and sausage and stuff. $20 just for me. Like it's expensive. Like back then, you could do all that for like $3, $2 or $3.
Yeah, I mean,
buy a meal at a restaurant for yourself.
Yeah, it was economies of scale. I mean, back then a McDonald's hamburger was 39 cents. I think you could buy a brand new car for $3,000.
The Big Mac, I think, just came out at this time too, 1968.
By the way, Salty, I didn't know you in this movie in the background. Just got to say.
Shut up, asshole.
This was a really cool scene as well. Very interesting, very timely at the moment. But do you notice the language they were using back then? You can't say the F word anymore, can you?
Yeah, not that F, not the 4-letter F word, the 6-letter F word that also means wood.
It also means British kind of food.
I don't get it because I all throughout college, that's what like the gay dudes that I knew that we would hang out with, that's what they called each other. I mean, I worked in a dance club as a bartender in college where it was a primarily gay dance club, and that's what they screamed across and now it's like, oh, you can't say that, and it's like, yeah, whatever, you know.
So I feel like with Dustin Hoffman saying the F word quite a bit, I believe his character is, you know, not there's anything wrong with that, but like I think that's just him projecting.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole of psychological analysis of this character that would probably prove not to be convenient to current narratives. We'll say that.
Just start showing him briefly. Lyle Hammock, Soldy. Lyle Hammock in the chat, dropping a super chat. Thank you so much. Hello, gents. He says, here is a little something for Gray, the nicest guy on YouTube. No, the nicest guy on YouTube sat next to me over here.
I'm an asshole.
Saltiest guy's down here. I'd love to hang out, but I just got in. I'm about to hit the sack. Have a great stream. Hail to you all. Lyle, mate, happy Easter. I hope you have a really good weekend. You take care.
Happy Easter.
Thank you for supporting the channel.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had some interesting conversations like in the last 24 hours on the Twitter chat group that's
been going wild. So I wake up every morning because I'm time difference. I'm like, Jesus, what did I miss? Everything. Well, I mean,
between the rings of power and what's going on with DC, and then I haven't even posted some of the stuff from Indiana Jones that come out because I'm like, let's everybody have a blessed, peaceful Easter, you know. But it's just like, yeah, you know, look at old stuff like this. This is entertainment. It makes you think too. And not only that, but you can see the mastery and the craft at every step of this. The cinematography, the soundtrack, the sound design, editing, the extras in this. And we talked about it, I think, before when we were live, which is using your location as a character within your movie. You are in New York City. New York City should be a not just a guest star, but a co-star of what you're doing and framing up every shot. And this shot does it really, really well. Or this movie does that really.
It's a character. It's a massive part of the movie, Solly. It's a huge character. And I love the comparison with the southern area of US, you know, Texas at the beginning to New York, Central City. Wow. It's so good.
Notice that as he's getting less and less naive, you stop hearing the Nilsson song.
Yeah. And Salty, we talked briefly about John Barry, the fantastic James Bond, John Barry's theme that's playing through. It's almost melancholy. It's really sentimental. It's a beautiful theme. Is it like harmonica and something? What is it? That
I think so.
That's so nice.
I think so.
I'd love to play it. Let me just drop a brief clip for Lyle Hammock. This is for you. This is everyone's favorite clip for the movie.
So what's funny is I read about that originally it was supposed to be them pretending they were trying to get them. They're trying to get them. He was trying to get himself hit by the car. That was originally what they were supposed to do, so that they can get some money.
They wanted the director was sitting in an unmarked white van across the street shooting them, and he kept doing take after take for this. And he wanted him to go like half a block down because he wanted to show, again, New York City walking down the street, like Brian's saying, and those people are not extras. They're just people like in the background walking in New York City. And the problem was they couldn't time it out to not hit the red light and stop at the red light having this conversation. So Schlesinger tells Voight and Dustin Hoffman, just don't stop at the don't walk sign. They're like, we're going to hit by a car. And he's like, we'll figure it out. So that whole scene, like Brian said, was entirely ad-libbed by Dustin Hoffman right there. That was a cab driver that almost killed Dustin Hoffman and John Voight because they walked against the light. So, yeah. But now you got to wear a mask because of imaginary shit on set or something. But, you know, I'm an asshole. I'll stop talking. Wow, it got quiet. Oh, Gray, you're muted again. That's why it's quiet.
Dear, I'm losing quality. I don't know why. We're trying to share because I don't have the screen caps.
Salty, I got a question. Why do you think, and this is something I was wondering, why was John Voight's second build, because like he's the main character of this movie. He is. I mean, this movie is almost entirely from his point of view.
He was essentially a nobody. He'd done a couple things, but he was a nobody. Dustin Hoffman was the well-known name because of The Graduate, because you can't overstate the importance of The Graduate in a lot of ways. You know, culturally now, Christ, I can't do math. Over 50 years later, but also, you know, things lasted longer in the pop culture or the culture of the time. I mean, a movie like that, people would talk about and would be relevant for years. Yeah. In the importance of it. So that was Dustin Hoffman big jumping off point. Like, people loved The Graduate, they loved Simon and Garfunkel, that whole thing, and he was the big actor. As a matter of fact, there's some anecdotes of how competitive John Voight was with Dustin Hoffman, because Dustin Hoffman was the established actor in all this, and John Voight was nobody who desperately wanted to be in this movie, and like we talked about, was willing to make scale, or the lowest that you can pay a union due member to act in a film, because he wanted to be in this film so much. But Hoffman and Voight pushed each other a lot and broke each other's balls like dudes do, even in this movie, about, is that the best you can do, and is that the best you can do? And it shows on the screen, right? Like, these people loved what they were doing, and they had pride in what they were doing, unlike a certain show from a hideout that's not so secret with ass clowns who I'm going to stop talking. It's not about the car.
Take a breath. Take a breath, Salty. Take a breath. You're all right. You're all right.
I'll be back. I'm gonna have a drink.
Just shout out to Whooper Trooper in the chat. Nosferatu's still here. Awesome one. Great to see you. Lovely Sherry. Lovely to see you, Sherry. Zach's, of course. Zach's, mate. Miss you, bro. I know you're traveling with family. I hope you're having a good Easter weekend, or you will do.
Safe.
Yeah.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's a Nerdporeal. Hail to you, awesome one. Great to see you.
And Whooper Trooper was dissing New York pizza, but he's saying Chicago pizza is delicious. Can you comment on that?
I can. I mean, we had some pizza. We ordered some pizza today. We don't order shit from like Domino's or Papa John's. We order from like we order from a good Italian, like a local Italian place. Or if you want a good deep dish, and
so jealous.
If you want a really good deep dish, Lou Malnati's.
Yeah.
Nosferatu, you madman.
Yeah.
Deep dish is someone putting marinara instead of frosting on a cake. That's what he said.
That is
That's not wrong.
I mean, certain people will say that it's practically a casserole, the deep dish pizza.
It's true. It's not the way to avoid heart disease, but it's the way to enjoy life. You know, you gotta make, it's decision time. Is there a lot to stick around for? Just saying. Do you see it? A lot of eat the deep dish pizza. That's my suggestion.
But speaking of food, one thing I was like concerned with was that John Voight like ran out of money, and he's struggling to find a way to make money, and so he's in a restaurant and he's just eating a cracker, and he accidentally like spills a bunch of ketchup on the cracker and on his pants. So it's just crazy. Like he was practically homeless. He was practically a bum for a good portion of the movie.
He got hustled. He got
hustled.
And the other thing is New York City. I mean, at that time, the world is a tough place, and he was out of his element. The guy thought that he was hot shit, and he was a good looking young dude, but he was out of his league, and that's kind of what this movie was about, and then you got Dustin Hoffman's character, who's a survivor, but you see what it takes to survive,
It's insane. As you can see, look at the ketchup bottle right there. It's like
you can tell that the lid's not on properly. But he's asked the crazy lady with the little boy, like, are you going to eat those crackers? She's putting a toy mouse like on her face and in her hair and doing it to the boy. It's such a weird scene.
I'm like, what? I'm like, is that supposed to? I'm like, is that supposed to mean something? Salty? Does that
Salty? What does it mean, man?
Anything? First of all, I wasn't born. And second of all, we're talking about New York City in the 60s where amphetamines were widely prescribed. No, I think like a lot of things at this time, there was symbolism or there was the absurd thrown in this. You see it in Easy Rider.
Great point.
You see it in Easy Rider, too. A lot of that weird kind of they're putting imagery in it and craziness. Interestingly enough, Tony Basil is one of the chicks who's one of the biker chicks who gets naked in Easy Rider, and she, of course, sang "Oh Mickey" from the early '80s. "Oh Mickey, you're so fine."
You're so
Anyway,
fine,
I
you
just
blow
thought
my
I'd
mind.
drop that. "Oh Mickey," she looked hot too. You know, it's probably ridden like the village bike, but
And there's Dr. Chandra, or Bob Balaban's.
Mm.
He plays a college kid who basically says, "Hey, let's go to a movie," and then he just starts feeling John Voight, and I think gives him a BJ,
gives him a Hummer,
and doesn't
he's
have
sick.
any money.
He's
That
sick in
son
the
of a
toilet
bitch
afterwards.
doesn't have money to pay him for that.
Yeah, the director and John Voight were in a movie theater watching this in early screenings, and people were walking out of this movie throughout it because of the things that you guys are talking about. And Schlesinger started to lose his shit and goes, "I've destroyed my career. We've destroyed Dustin Hoffman's career. You're never going to be anything." And John Voight literally was shaking him, saying, "You've got to trust me. This is going to be a defining moment, a piece of cinema that people will remember for decades to come." And as it turns out, John Voight was right. But this movie really was, it was like an X-rated film at the time. Cinema, major studio releases did not have homosexual blowjobs. They didn't in 1969, and we can discuss the artistic merit of that however you want. But this was a shocking leap forward. But really, this movie isn't about what I would say, which would be those situations of reality, which were shocking to a lot of people around America to see. It was about this guy and what it was like to be in New York City. Because I really think New York City, the weirdness of New York City at that time, and even in America in the late 60s, when I think that we were really starting to, the counterculture revolution had done its damage. The country had been steeped in Vietnam for a long time. A lot of things were changing, some good, some bad. But I really think this captures just the seedy underbelly of a city that, in a certain moment of time, that this time and place and these people in this culture, they don't exist anymore. And this all existed. And all these people, I think it's important to look at the totality of the world that they're showing and what surrounds John Voight's and Dustin Hoffman's characters.
That was such a good scene, just briefly showed it there, where John Voight finally accidentally happens upon Dustin Hoffman's character in a cafe, and he sees him through the window, and initially they both smile at each other, but then John Voight, his face drops, and Dustin Hoffman's like, "Oh no, he's found me." Nerdporeal, it was such a good scene, wasn't it? I love this one.
We have to talk about what the context behind why he feels that way. So he meets Dustin Hoffman, and Dustin Hoffman's like, we should help each other. I know this guy who can get you jobs and all that, And so he takes him to this apartment, and you have this weird dude just looking at him. I forgot what the old dude, bald, wearing a I think it was a robe right there,
a bathrobe,
bathrobe. Yeah. You see more dressed than you need to. And you would think he was a pimp, but the way this scene played out, you would thought he wanted to have sex with him. And then he opens up the bathroom, and there's like a shrine, and he's like, "Come on, let's kneel and do it." And and John Voight just like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Yeah. And I just want to apologize for Nosferatu, who was apparently on his back porch, surrounded by people playing outside when I said homosexual blowjob, and apparently his neighbors heard that. So I guess I apologize for that. So
really,
it's Nos. I don't know. It could be the Franzia talking. He's a box wine guy. So
this guy, this character actor, he does a great creepy performance. It's very memorable because he's only in it for a short amount of time, isn't he? As you say, I thought he was going to basically jump him, but he doesn't. He says, "Come on, get down on your knees. Let's pray."
Yeah, he's just like, "Get the hell away from me." I would have done the same thing.
Oh, dude, I would have thrown his ass out a window. Are you kidding me? Oh, I guess I shouldn't say that. But that's the thing about this movie and so many movies that came out that year of 69 and before and then after them, where, again, it wasn't just about characters or a plot that's all ham-fisted together like we've been seeing for way too long. These characters, you believed that they were real. I mean, you were immersed in this world, and there was a story that was there. And I don't know, there's something about these performances, and I spend a lot of my time watching older stuff, probably like you guys do, where I don't know what it is. The only word I can come up with is that we see humanity on screen. We see humanity in the characters and in the actors in a lot of stuff that's on streaming. I don't see any humanity at all. I don't even know what the hell's there. It's like, it's not even a cardboard cutout of an actor. But this movie does not shy away from showing you very uncomfortable things. Uncomfortable things for the protagonist.
And the protagonist changes. Like I finished this movie and like I don't know if I like the character based on what
I agree.
think. There's like he turns into a bit of a bully himself. I mean, he's a big dude. He bullies Dustin Hoffman for 69 cents.
Yeah.
And
69 cents?
69 cents. Yep, that's right. Maybe
69, dude.
That's a hamburger and a cup of coffee back then. Seriously.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, by the way, in the chat, guys, Nosferatu accidentally timed Whooper out or something. And you can't
untime them. I did that to Jacob Ironside accidentally on the Star Trek on Picard.
What are you doing, Nos?
I was on mobile and I'm like, what the hell did I just do?
Like it's so easy. You just like you accidentally tap the screen and then all of a sudden it says allow or block.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
it happens to the best of us. Sorry.
Hey, I'm walking here. Christopher Walken? No.
Or maybe there's a new rule here. You know, no Pokemons allowed. Sorry, Whoopa.
Salty, did you want to share something, by the way? Sorry, mate.
No. I just want, like, you know what I do is I like to provide context. I talk all this shit, and you guys don't know whether I'm lying or not or whatever it is.
But, this would be great. Yeah, let's listen to this.
Yeah, so this is 1969, and these were the box office that came out. Now look at where and how important and what a box office performance this movie we're talking about is. So obviously the number one movie to come out in 1969 was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I love that movie so much.
Okay.
Amazing soundtrack. Just we should watch Falling on My Head. Yes, baby. You know
it's a bonkers soundtrack in that movie, in that context, isn't it? It's completely out there.
I mean, Robert Redford at his peak. You've got Paul Newman at his peak, and then the woman who's in this movie, I always forget her name, is just drop dead gorgeous.
Catherine Roth, I think.
Catherine Roth, and she imprinted on me as a young boy, so that to me is still the standard of beauty, right there. That woman, a very feminine, ass-kicking woman like that. Now, interestingly enough, The Love Bug. Back when Disney could make family movies, The Love Bug, about a possessed VW car, VW Bug, which is actually really funny, was number 2. But the number 3 movie was Midnight Cowboy. Now, it sold almost 32 million tickets at the time. Now, its box office was less than half of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. But again, this movie did not have Robert Redford and Paul Newman in it. So that's a hell of an accomplishment. It really is. Now look at the number. Go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed, but like in the room that John Voight was staying in, there were posters, or there were ripped up or torn posters that had Paul Newman in it. So Paul Newman on it. So Paul Newman, I mean, he was the star. He was probably the biggest star of 1969.
Yeah, I want you guys. I want to watch 3 Days of the Condor with you guys, because I think chat has probably seen 3 Days of the Condor, one of my favorite movies ever. But Robert Redford's in that. Easy Rider. Look at that. You see the effect and interest in the counterculture. Now, Easy Rider is a very different movie than Midnight Cowboy, but in some ways it has a lot of the same themes, just from a different perspective. Now, in that, you had Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda, obviously, and they're drug dealers who made a bunch of money and are trying to like get out before they get busted. But you kind of see this, and then look, you got Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice. That's a movie about having about swingers, which again,
I remember that.
Paint Your Wagon. That's a funny Western. Oh God, it's not.
Imagine Clint Eastwood singing. That's Paint Your Wagon, basically.
Yeah. And then there it is. True Grit
Lee Marvin.
with John Wayne.
Yes.
John Wayne's only Academy Award, sold 10 million tickets less. And I love that version of True Grit. There's only one True Grit.
No way, Salty. The James Bond is only in 11th. OHMSS.
It's Her Majesty's Secret Service, dude. So yeah,
George Lazenby.
Yeah. But you can kind of see some of the other books. Now, obviously, after The Graduate, they did the book Goodbye Columbus, which again was another coming of age counterculture type of it was a major book in the 60s and was banned actually a lot in the 70s and even the 80s because of some of its adult material in it. But you can kind of see, where was the box office at? And They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Which is where that other actor that we talked about, Sweet Charity.
Yeah, he was from that, wasn't he? Yeah.
Another movie, Where Eagles Dare, which I think is a very overlooked Clint Eastwood World War II movie. Watch that if you have.
That's a great movie.
We should watch that and review that. I would love that.
Yeah, we should. Underrated.
They're like on this. They're on this wire. They're on this like wire. What do you call those? A gondola.
The gondola that goes up the mountain in the
and
Alps.
They're fighting. They're going up to like a Nazi stronghold, like on the very top of like one of the mountains in the Swiss Alps or something. And it's just.
I want to watch that tonight. Now I'm getting so
watch.
excited about it. And then I'll end with this. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Nerdporeal.
And another movie that I actually liked that didn't get good reviews was Topaz, Alfred Hitchcock. That's another Cold War-esque thriller. And I really liked the movie. Like there was just so many. You had Vernon or John Vernon in the movie. He plays a Cuban. I don't know if he's a dictator, but he plays like a Cuban underling of Castro or something. And there's a famous shot of him embracing a woman and killing her point blank and everything.
And there's a lot of
he's wearing makeup to look Cuban. He's wearing makeup to look Cuban, but he passes as a Cuban. But yeah,
back in the days when you could do that, and not get cancelled.
There's a lot of relativity to that, or relevance to that, because of what happened with John F. Kennedy and the failed invasion of Cuba and the Bay of Pigs. So a lot of these things are topical for the time, it being 1969. Now we're sitting here in 2023, and it's like, it doesn't really matter. But that's why piecing these things together, what was going on culturally, economically, from a geopolitical standpoint, you kind of understand why some of these movies are coming out. But what's crazy about this is look at the numbers of tickets sold. I mean, really, Eagles Dare with Clint Eastwood only sold 5 million tickets, and yet you had this movie, which was crazy for the time, Midnight Cowboy. It sold 32 million tickets. So
that
look
puts
at the
it in a huge
in
perspective, Salty, doesn't it? Because it would not be expected to be a hit, that would it?
No, and then look at True Grit with John Wayne. With John Wayne, sold 10 million tickets less than Midnight Cowboy. It's crazy, And then the last one I wanted to touch on here was Alice's Restaurant. That's another counterculture movie that was.
I haven't seen that. I don't know that one.
Arlo Guthrie, who was the famous Guthrie. Oh Jesus, I forgot his name.
Woody Guthrie.
Woody's son, who's a stoner from the Berkshires of Massachusetts. I actually met him several times a long time ago and drank in a bar with him. Just going to say
Woody Guthrie, was he a singer? Was he a Western?
Arlo was a singer too. But this is another one of those things. It's kind of like a hippie, weird counterculture thing.
Okay.
And even when I was in college, this was sort of mythologized. Because of its counterculture thing. So,
yes.
It's about Thanksgiving and turkey and dope and the cops and getting hassled by the man for long hair and stuff like that. But I just wanted to share these things because, I think it's important to put them into context as to, what else was going on within pop culture in 1969. So,
yeah, John Wayne was also anti-commie, says Nosferatu, and very outspoken about it.
I agree. It's why I love John Wayne.
Speaking of 1969, did you like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I never saw it. I don't really.
You haven't seen it?
I have a love-hate relationship. I mostly hate Tarantino, with the exception of Pulp Fiction and True Romance. But when he started to do some of the other stuff, like everybody loves it, I fight with my brother all the time about this because he's a huge Tarantino fan. And I think because I'm such a contrarian in some ways, I just don't want to see it. I'm like, fuck, I don't care. Like, You know,
It's
like it's
very,
no disrespect to Tarantino, but
like it feels like you're 1969 LA, and it feels alive. Like you were talking about, like how setting like this like like New York is a character in this.
Yeah.
Well, LA 1969 feels like a character because they really built and they really tried to make it look as authentically 1969 as they could.
I saw some of those shots, and then of course I watched on YouTube. What was it? The Manson family getting the flamethrower, which I thought was fucking hysterical. So I appreciate that. It's just how it is. Like I don't know, something about Tarantino. Like I just have this resentment against him. It's not jealousy, but it's just like he's all right, but at a certain point, it's like Tarantino trying to be Tarantino too much.
Yeah, I think he lost it solely with his later movies. I agree. I liked it up to a point. Pulp Fiction I loved, and even much after that, Jackie Brown. I quite like Jackie Brown, but after that,
I thought Kill Bill. I love Kill Bill was great. Kill Bill was great. It was
Lady Snowblood,
ridiculously long and convoluted, but it was great. It was great. So,
speaking of long, ridiculously long ladies, this is for you, Salt. I've got to share this picture. Catherine Ross. She was in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
I'll be back.
Look at that black and white photo. It's a beauty, isn't it?
You can see her and
eyes.
You can, she's just beautiful. She's just a beautiful woman, And there's only. I'm not gonna say that on your show. Yeah, look at that woman, natural woman, just a natural woman. No Botox. Probably no cosmetic surgery.
I got that song in my head now. You make me
feel. I'm just singing. It's in my head as well.
The woman. I can't do it. I'm not Aretha. God damn, Jesus. Aretha Franklin. Amazing pipe.
God damn, that's a great song.
They gotta have some kind of middleman. And that's where old Daniel comes in, you know what I mean? Hey! I'm walking here! Up yours, you son of a bitch!
Sorry, that's why everybody was stopped. Everybody was stopped because there was a don't walk sign and their asses are walking across the street because the director said walk into traffic.
That's it. It looks real because it is real, isn't it? It looks like
real. Yeah.
Sorry, Nerdporeal, were you saying something, man? Come on.
What you think? One thing I noticed in the movie, and I'm like, why am I seeing this continually? Did you notice like all the Campbell's? You see a whole bunch of Campbell's soup.
Yes.
And you know why? Well, because who designed the Campbell soup logo in the first place, and Mr. Warhol. And they go to a party, like him and Dustin Hoffman are sitting at a restaurant or a bar or something, and these two random people come in, and they're very, I don't know how to describe it. They look like they have wealth, and they're weird, or as Dustin Hoffman says, wackos. And they randomly take a picture of John Voight, and they give him a flyer saying, "Hey, come to this sexy party," because well, I don't think that's what they call it, but you see the flyer, and it looks very like the psychedelic font and the psychedelic just the psychedelic poster in general, and you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, and yeah, but they used to do that all the time. They used to have these underground shows or concerts or whatever it was. And a lot of these were, trust fund kids living in Greenwich Village or whatever it was. And then everybody drops acid and then has sex with everybody. And then, yeah. I mean, it was like, I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that's kind of how it was. But there were a lot of people in that art scene, and you saw a lot of the psychedelic art, obviously, in LA. And around CBGB's, and then of course San Francisco with the Dead and a lot of their tour posters. But it was the same thing in New York City, and Warhol was part of that avant-garde weirdo, weird money, weird sex stuff that was going on, and yeah, I think that's entirely accurate to the age.
Speaking of weird sex stuff, that's raw too. His favorite movie, Eyes Wide Shut. Anyway,
most notable appearance or character that played Andy Warhol in the movie. You ever see The Doors?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
Crispin Glover.
Yeah, Crispin Glover of all people plays
perfect, dude.
He is Jesus. Like if you've seen that movie, he's weird. Like just Crispin Glover, just weird.
Oh, God,
Well, that was the guy who
perfect.
played Marty McFly's dad in the
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So,
And he was in Friday 13th, the final chapter. The dude doing the crazy dance. Like,
And he was
We
in
should
Wild at
talk-
Heart. Really weird role
Oh,
in
yeah.
Wild at Heart, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about the other week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so that Crispin Glover dude, he actually, was starting to get popular, and not to derail the stream, but it's important because you brought it up, and everybody loved it because of Back to the Future. Well, he came on a late show after Johnny Carson with somebody by the name of David Letterman, who was still on NBC at the time. You see it where he's wearing those platform shoes and tries to kick David Letterman in the face. And I was watching that when it happened. I think it was, I don't know when the hell it was, 84, 85. And I remember my brother and I looked at each other like, what the hell just happened? But you can see David Letterman's like, who is this Fruit Loop? And
then he walks off the stage.
He literally walks off the stage, and then they just go to commercial, and Glover's like, what did I do? So, yeah.
Is he all right? Is he all right, Crispin Glover? Salty, do you think? Is he okay? Is he all there?
Define all right. What about that Amanda Bynes chick, the one they found wandering around naked in Los Angeles, who was a child star for Disney? You think she's all right? Just saying.
Speaking
Anyways,
of
good
that,
movie.
Salty and probably going back to the Tarantino movie you were mentioning, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I heard from a friend, and I hadn't noticed it the first time I watched it, but there's some very dodgy. What's the word? So I've just been distracted by that incredible.
I would
super
be
chat.
distracted too. Hail.
There's a bit of underage, what's the word? No, they don't show anything, but it's hinted at. Brad Pitt's character is giving a lift to that. Picks up one of those Manson girls, Nerdporeal Random One, and she's obviously underage, and she says she is, and it's really creepy what's going on in that scene. So
Roman Polanski. Roman
go.
Polanski.
There
You
you
do have
go.
something in chat you want to take a look at.
You gotta look at it.
I can't believe it. I just got distracted. It says it's Anna Hammock with $100. Well, that's incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and supporting these brilliant panelists here. Hello to you all. You all know my husband Lyle is watching our daughter sleep. I wanted to say thank you to you all. Lyle has been dealing with very difficult times at work and in his family, so thank you all for helping him. He loves all you guys, and you've been a lifeline. Well, this is salty, isn't it? Nerdporeal. Me a little bit, but thank you so much for that.
It's only your channel. It's only your idea, Gray. It's only you doing this every week. People may come for some of your cool guests, but people want to hear your takes, Gray. And I mean, Lyle has been a longtime supporter on my channel. I'm very lucky and blessed to have him around, and I'm really glad that you guys have branched out and are watching all the other cool other people that are in this little corner of our nerddom thing. So, I mean, it's not my channel, but Anna, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching us. Ask Gray, ask Brian. We don't know if anybody actually is watching anymore because something's going on with YouTube, and
viewership's been going down.
It's like that this month or last month.
We really appreciate
that is so generous, and I hope he's okay. Lyle, please, I know he's gone to bed, but please give him our best wishes. I hope he's good. I hope he's all right, because it's hard, man, when you've got problems at work, you're having a hard time, and you take care, and it'll be okay, because we've got a great circle of friends here.
Yeah, I mean, on behalf of Gray, I mean, I'm not going to see one red cent of it, which is fine, but Gray. I'm not guilting you. I'm just trying to be funny. Gray works really hard on making content, on putting a good show together. Brian, who's there, works really hard on putting his show together too. And we know that these times are financially uncertain for all of us. And I think I'm going to have a show talking about that to a certain degree live on my channel. But I just want to acknowledge, thank you. Thank you for supporting small content creators. Thank you for being here. Thank you for even just being in chat, and thank you to everybody who's here. Woomba Trumpa
in the chat. There's a lot of love in the chat here for not just for Anna, for everybody here. And Lyle, come on.
I love seeing you guys here. I love seeing you guys on Brian's channel. I love seeing you on Purple when we do the Woo Woo stream. It just means a lot. And I'm probably not the only one that feels this way, but it feels like everything is kind of coming apart at the seams right now. And it's just nice to know that we're not alone. I'm not alone, and you guys know that we're not grifters here. We don't
You
have
are not
big
alone,
teams doing work for us. We don't have an agenda. What you see is what you get. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant.
Thank
what you see
you.
is what you get. Greetings from Perth, Australia as well. Werewolf by Lunchtime.
Hey!
Great name. First time watching.
Dude,
really enjoying.
I love it. I want
That's
that
awesome.
on a t-shirt. That sounds like an 80s metal band. Werewolf at lunchtime. Werewolf. You know, like a Danzig song. Hail.
Okay, just let me briefly drop a clip. It's the first clip from Midnight Cowboy. My favourite one, Salty, where he goes, woohoo!
Someone I can talk to in bed.
A good sense of humor, not afraid of sex.
A Texas oil man.
Aggressiveness.
Outdoor type. A rebel.
Young.
You.
Excuse me, ma'am.
So good.
That's a great.
He's so
scene.
young. He looks so young and innocent and naive, but he's not as he's going to be a hustler, baby. A hustler.
Oh, yeah.
In New York
Gigolo.
City.
Gigolo.
Gigolo. Oh
Like
my God.
Nerdporeal.
That's right. I love you guys too. I choose to spend my time shooting the shit with you all because you are good people. Thanks, Nos. I appreciate it. And thanks for timing out Whooper. What are you doing? No, I'm joking.
Yeah. No, right back at you guys. Everybody in chat. Like, I'm not a nice person. I'm not. I'm an honest person. And so if I hang out with you and I comment with you and I'm sure Brian's the same way, like, it's real. You know what I mean? Life's too short to be full of shit, you know?
I agree.
So thanks for being here, you know?
I'm blown away.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. But guys, what do you reckon then? We've talked a lot about the movie. Before we wrap things up, do you want to give a score, or do you want to say, you know, whether you recommend it or not for people who maybe think, wait a minute, 1969, that's years ago. There can't be anything good being made.
There's one thing I want to talk about. He has
Oh, yeah,
one
go for
more
it.
encounter with another guy. I forget I forget who he is. His, Barnard Hughes is a character. He's in Tron. He plays a priest in All in the Family, and he just he starts doing stuff. He's like, oh, I only have $10. He's like, dude, I need $57 because my friend is dying and he wants to go to Florida. So we get this whole thing where Dustin Hoffman is, you know, he's sending, you know, John Voight into a hotel to be a gigolo, and he fails at it, gets his ass kicked out. But at the same time, we see him fantasizing, and they use a very interesting color to make you know that he's fantasizing about himself and, well, Joe Buck or John Voight in Florida being pampered and just enjoying stuff, and he's playing cards with the old ladies, and
hope.
That's
It's
what he
either
wanted.
Hope or delusion.
And like we said, you know, he's gotten sick. What's funny is he's gotten sicker and sicker and sicker throughout the movie. Like, he was freaking sick at the Andy Warhol gathering, and he got so disgusted by those people. Like one woman's like, you're sweating. I want to lick the sweat off. She's like, get away from me.
That was creepy. Yeah.
Yes. He's like fucking wackos. And so he wants to go to Florida. And so John Voight, you know, he starts being the,
I think he locked up.
Oh, we've lost Nerdporeal temporarily, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, he starts beating up this guy, doesn't he, in the hotel room. I can find the scene. Sorry, I'm having weird internet issues too.
Yeah, it's probably the Ukrainians or Klaus
Because
Schwab.
we've been talking about certain topics, maybe, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's somebody on my phone now too, just because of the shit I talk about on the Woo Woo Show. I wish I was kidding. You can't talk about George Soros and Klaus Schwab apparently anymore, which I don't care about. But no, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this movie, God, I mean, my grandpa wore a hat like that. You know what I mean? My grandpa wore a suit like that. I mean, I remember a lot of these things because the architecture and the style and the clothing that would have been in New York City would have stayed, and they did, through about the mid-70s in the middle of nowhere, like in middle America where I was. You know, it's not like everywhere else in the country was all in sync with what was going on the coasts. You saw that going through the 80s. I remember when I was living, I spent a summer in a large East Coast city as a kid, and then when I got back to where I was from in the middle of nowhere in high school, people were just hearing about Guns N' Roses when I'd been listening to Guns N' Roses all summer long, and it was like deja vu. So, I mean, things used to take time before we had the internet to cross and permeate culture as things moved from the coasts inward. So a lot of the styles that you see and a lot of the way people dressed, they still dressed like that into the 80s. That generation wore those same types of clothes. Is Brian back, or did we lose him forever?
No, I removed him from the stream briefly because I thought he'll pop back in, but he's disappeared. He's not come back in yet. What was it Nosferatu was saying? Oh God, I don't even read it out. Sorry.
We have. It's going to get worse.
He's back. Nerdporeal signal was hijacked by the Mossad. Saying it carefully, slowly. And Zach was laughing at that. Thank God you're back. Are you okay?
Yeah, it was just stupid.
Put that handsome man in the middle. Put me on the bottom.
So do you guys think that he killed him ultimately?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to ask before I got cut off.
I do.
I think he was beating him up, wasn't he? And I don't know because we don't see it. It just stops at that moment.
He does something like he tries to talk, and then it looks like he smothers him.
He wants him to beat him up. He's hitting him with a telephone, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he killed him.
Yeah, he's trying to smother him with like the telephone or something.
Yeah,
so, like,
I mean,
he gets pretty like he's become pretty much.
I think it has to do with rage and disgust. You know, I think that there's lot of subtext to this. I think he hates having to do this. He doesn't want to do this. In a lot of the ways he's victimized in two senses. He's victimizing himself because he put himself in this position, and then he's also allowing this dirty old man, degenerate, to use him. And I think he's still a man, you know? I mean, men were different. Yeah. You know, men in their 20s. You know, my generation was, you know, we wouldn't take any shit. We weren't confused about our pronouns. You know, we had to work for a living. We didn't use made-up shit to excuse why we can't show up to work on time, but I digress. But I think in this case, I mean, he really was this hyper-masculine archetype that was going to use his hyper-masculinity in youth to hopefully make a lot of money. And in turn, because he's not smart enough and doesn't understand the complexity of the grift, he gets caught up into it and it's destroying him. And I really think he takes out all of his anger and frustration at all of this on that I think piece of shit who deserved it, but I'm not a nice person, so, you know.
That's it. There's so many layers to this movie before you go on Nerdporeal, aren't there? It's each time I watch it, I get more from it. It's deeply layered. There's so many levels, and you see like John Voight being so innocent and bubbly at the beginning to ending up in this, you know, horrible state, and he's still got love for his friend, his new friend, his only friend in New York, you know, and he's trying to save his life.
Buddy,
it's fantastic.
Or at least let him
get him his last wish.
Get him his last wish.
Oh,
so he wants to go to Florida, so he gets to see Florida before he dies. And what's funny is when they get to Florida, you know, he's out in New York. John Voight is basically Joe Buck, not the. I always think of the sports announcer.
We've got another request from Angry Canadian. He says, Gray, read your super chat. Did you miss a super chat, Gray?
No, it's just the two. Well, just two. It's great getting anything. Thank you so much. One was from Lyle Hammock and one was from Lyle Hammock's wife.
Yeah. And of course, thank you to both of them. And Anna, that was incredibly generous. And thank you very much again for that. So, yeah.
That was Lyle earlier. Thank you, Lyle. Unless it's a Stream Elements one, Angry, let me know.
Yeah, if it's Stream Elements. If you want, you know, we can do interpretive dance, Nerdporeal and I. You know. I'll get some shoe polish and do interpretive tribal dance. And I call myself Justin Trudeau. So,
but when they get to Florida, the first thing that he says is that he wants to get a job. That he just wants to. He's out of the business. He saw what he saw, and he's out. And he's basically beginning to put his life in a better direction. And I'm guessing that's how they chose to end that. So we get to see him he starts off very innocent, going into this wacko-ass-esque world, and he gets ripped off left and right. He gets hustled. He gets hustled by this dude, but he ends up developing a bond with him, and takes him to Florida, and he dies. He dies ultimately, and he just died. He has his head on the glass, and he has his eyes open.
He dies because he's poor. He's gone through poverty. He doesn't have enough money to. He dies from TB, from tuberculosis, which used to kill people, didn't it, Salty? He used to kill people not that long ago.
A lot of things used to kill people a long time ago that we eradicated with legitimate immunization, as opposed to what we do now. But
sorry, I know.
I think this is a timeless morality tale. I mean, there's so many layers to this, and I'm not trying to be artsy fartsy, dude. That's not what it is. But I think, when was the last time we saw a message like this about friendship and masculinity, about risks, about the dark side of all of these things, about sticking through it, all of this.
Yes.
Like, you don't see this level of humanity, because you can arguably say this, that you can overlay a Greek tragedy on this, and you can probably point to the different points within that story. I mean, but John Voight is a cautionary tale. He lived to tell the tale. You've got is it Rizzo or Ratzo? I can never remember.
Rizzo, Ratzo, Rico, Rizzo, Ratzo.
Hey, don't call me Ratzo.
Yeah,
and he keeps calling, and that was the thing. He keeps calling him Ratzo.
Yeah,
and at this point, he's just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just like, again, I mean, this guy was a survivor, and I think Ratzo would have survived nuclear war. He's like a cockroach, except that he got tuberculosis. You know what I mean?
Salty, yes, he is. He's a survivor, isn't he? Exactly. That's a great analogy. He's like a cockroach. He's like a rat who will survive in the sewers, in the shithole of New York City.
Yeah.
Was it in an abandoned apartment, whatever, where there's no heating? Of course, there's like wind and rain coming in, the freezing cold in the winter. He dies because he gets ill, and he's too poor to pay for medicine. Look at John Voight's face here in this scene. Look at that. That just looks real.
You can see the pain in this still. You can see the pain of this. Now, a lot of this was driven by the fact that these two actors were in really hyper-competitive, they were toxically masculine, yes, which produced this beautiful piece of work. Because Dustin Hoffman was the bigger actor. John Voight wanted to do anything to be in this story. He gave it all. And I think Dustin Hoffman was like, holy shit, this guy really is good. And that's why their performance steps up. And it's like, it shows. You know?
Do you think, is this pretty much the movie that made John Voight's career?
I think it obviously did. I mean, he did after that.
Deliverance, a few years later.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think in a lot of ways, this is the defining role. He was great in Deliverance. Deliverance is a movie I've seen twice, and I will never see it.
He's amazing in that.
You know what I mean?
He's still young in this. He still feels a bit raw, Nerdporeal.
Squealing like pigs.
Squealing, baby.
That movie taught. I learned about. I learned about things from that.
I learned about things before my time when I watched that.
I was I was in 8th grade when I saw that.
I was too young to see that movie on TV late night.
I was like,
what? Yeah. No, I don't need to see this.
But we turned out all right, didn't we, Salty? Nerdporeal. We turned out fine, I think. We might be crazy, but hey, at least we're fucking honest.
But here's the thing. I think Grim brings up a point.
Grim, this breaks my heart, mate, every time. Me too.
Care about these characters. You care about them. They didn't tell you have to care about them. They didn't have long expositions explaining why you should care. You care about them because they showed you why you should care about them. It's not like you see now. And that's, I think, when you start going back to this older cinema, when they wanted to tell stories. And I don't know what they're doing now. I keep saying on my channel, it's about transhumanists. This is about enabling Gen Z and millennials, to not be human beings and modeling that behavior. I firmly believe that. But you go back and you watch movies like this, or The Godfather, or Star Wars, or any movie from this time, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, you're going to see the human psyche and the human soul in the good, in the bad, and the strength and the weakness and the struggle, and you root for that character. Because that character struggles and almost overcomes and is vulnerable, but doesn't quit and doesn't give in. And that is the message, and that is the most dangerous and horrifying thing about current year entertainment, is they have removed that. They would never make a movie like this now. They would never make a movie like this, or they'd try and make it in the entire what made this movie good would not be within it. They'd say the lines, but they wouldn't mean anything. Am I being unfair, guys?
No. Guys, just let me take a moment to shout out in the chat. It doesn't show up on StreamYard, but Zach's has dropped a member chat. Member for 3 months, Zach. You are my first member, baby. You'll always be my first. He says, make the poll. Nosferatu, been a member for a month. Samurai, baby. He says, watch Gadar. I'm not saying gaydar. Oh, I said it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support, mate. I really appreciate it. Shout out to all the members. Everyone's members. Are you looking after your member, Salty? I hope you are.
Yes. Is Salty in your Midnight Diner world? That's interesting.
We're trying to get you into Midnight Diner, Salty. It's on Netflix. It's a really good Japanese set in a little bar drama. Only 30-minute episodes, and it's like real life, slice of life.
I don't pay for Netflix, but I'll ask somebody who is a pirating friend of mine to watch it with me. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been great getting your thoughts. Any final thoughts? You want to give a rating, or of course it's a recommend, isn't it?
I want to hear what Brian thinks about this. I mean, you, Gray, you and I are old, so who gives a shit what we think? But I want to hear what Brian thinks about this movie.
This was a very, I'll say this definitely warrants a rewatch for sure. There's just so much. There's so much going on, especially in the editing. Like there's so much imagery. Like you're kind of trying to wonder what is the director going for. Like what? Like there's like a scene where I think it was a commercial or a show, and they show a dog being like putting makeup on, and they're dressing the dog up, and it just I was curious if there was comparing to John Voight, the way his grandmother took care of him and stuff, dressing him up and probably putting stuff on him. I don't know. Based on what we see, based on the images or the flashbacks we see.
Good point.
I wasn't sure if I liked him at the end, though. That's the thing, because he murdered a dude. I mean, it's implied.
Maybe.
It seems like he might have murdered
it. Did he deserve it? Because
No.
is it murder? Okay, I'm sorry. That's the world I live in. Did he deserve it? Then what's the problem? That's how I roll, though. So,
yeah. I don't think he did deserve it. I think he robbed him of money and then he killed him. I mean, that's about as low as you get. I mean, this movie's about you get to see the low life, seedy part. And what's great about this movie is he changes. Like you see the change, but then once they leave. Like I said, once they leave New York, and he wants to get a job, and he's kind of regaining that happy, that more. I mean, not quite. He's not naive anymore, but he's regaining some of that more chipper attitude that he had earlier. Mm-hmm. And then we start hearing the Nilsson song again. So I liked what this movie did. It was very interesting. I loved the fact that I agree with you, Salty, that this, the city was a very big character in this. Like it felt lived in. Like that freaking apartment. I got uncomfortable just seeing them just like laying down and sleeping in this place. And then you see Dustin Hoffman getting sick, and there's so much detail. You see the sweat on his face. You think he's really sick in this movie. And he's freaking he the performance, like he's cold, and you like you feel like you're in the movie. Like this movie was so well put together, like just like we said, show don't tell. And I mean I could see why this won the Oscar. Like this is a movie that definitely requires a rewatch, especially from me, because there's just so much to take away, and there's so much more that I probably didn't pick up on.
There's a lot of iconography.
This scene, Salty, low life. Look at this scene.
And look what they're in front of.
In front of Tiffany's. That's so cool. And a guy's on the floor. He's collapsed. People just walking past him. John Voight just got to New York. He's like, wait a minute. What's going on? Why is everyone ignoring him?
This is where you go to spend a lot of money on a diamond. in jewelry, Tiffany and Company, and to set this right in front of there, the context is probably about consumption and overconsumption and all of those other things, which a lot of the counterculture entertainment was concerned with, which was that, you know. So I mean, Nerdporeal, you're spot on, and that's why I was like going, dude, look what's on the screen, because that's it.
Saying,
I mean, there's all of this stuff. It's like right there, as you said it, it's right there, dude. Like, it's crazy. I mean, and again, the attention to detail in the theme, which is, it's woven throughout, like, these directors. It's not just in the foreground, it's in the background as well for what the story they're trying to tell, and it's consistently there, you know. And again, I can't sit through the dreck. It's not even bad copies anymore. I don't know what it is, but it's certainly not been entertainment for a long time. Now, there are exceptions. There are. But movies like this, I don't know when the last time something like this has been made. You know? I don't. Hail to Bodega Outlaw, by the way. It's fantastic to see.
Great to see you. Hope you're good. Hope you're Genki. Yeah, thank you so much, Nerdporeal, Salty. That's awesome summaries. Again, so much got from this movie. So much you picked out. And we could keep talking for like 3-4 hours about it, but let's wrap things up, shall we? Before we finish, what have you guys got coming up? We'll start with Salty. Salty, you have a woo-woo show coming up soon.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's Purple Valkyrie's birthday tomorrow. In case you didn't know, she's probably going to be doing a birthday stream. Reach out to her if you want to be on it. If you have a YouTube channel, she'd probably love to have you. I may be doing a show on Sunday. I want to be respectful of people's time. It's also Easter. I think it's important to...
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a deeply religious man, but I am a spiritual dude. And I'm seeing a lot of things going on in the world right now where I think we kind of maybe need to look to some of the older wisdom that's out there. You know what I mean? Because shit's getting weird. And here's the thing. It's going to get weirder. It really is, and we're seeing it. So I'm just happy. This was fun. Thanks for letting me jump on and disappear for 10 minutes to do something. And it's great to work with you, Gray. Hail to everybody in chat.
That sounds interesting. Disappear for 10 minutes to do something. 10 minutes, mate. I'm impressed. That's a long time. It's longer than me, anyway. Let's shout out Nerdporeal. Nerdporeal, you star. He dropped a members chat as well. Member for 2 months. Yo Jimbo. A palate cleanse compared to Picard Season 3. Arigato. Thank you so much. And thanks for your membership, mate. I really appreciate it. Wow. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. It was so much fun watching it. I don't know if fun's the right word, but I told Nerdporeal Salty before we went live, I was a bit late because I was rewatching to get some, photos, and I just got pulled in again. I was like right into the performances. I was like 10 minutes to go before I'm live. I was like, oh my God.
It's an immersive world. It's an immersive world. I mean, you literally, again, you just look at all the stuff going on in New York City. You look at all the way people are dressed, what they're doing. And John Voight commands the screen, and so does Dustin Hoffman. I mean, you don't see Dustin Hoffman, you see Ratso or Rizzo. I mean, you see him exist. Yes. And I think it's interesting because, and this is going to sound crazy, right? It's a salty, crazy thing. But if you look at Dustin Hoffman in this movie, and then look at Dustin Hoffman in All the President's Men and all the other stuff like that happened with that Watergate movie, because he went on to another big movie with, not Paul Newman, Robert Redford, like I think a couple of years after that had to do with Watergate. So, All the President's Men. Whenever I think of Dustin Hoffman, I always think about what he did in Tootsie. So, just look at the range of this guy. Look at the range of this guy.
Before there was Mrs. Doubtfire, there was Tootsie.
Yeah. Before there was Dylan Mulvaney on Budweiser cans, there was Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie. And I think Dustin's more passable than that pathetic...
Don't get me started on that, Jesus, man. Yeah. Jack Daniels as well. What's going on with that? Is it RuPaul?
Here's the great thing: all these brands that support this shit, I don't buy anyway. I don't buy Nike because of the slave labor they use. I don't buy Jack Daniels because it's shit. I don't drink Budweiser. See why I don't drink Jack Daniels. So it's like I'm scanning through the list of all this shit, and I'm like, cool. I don't support these assholes anyway. So it's like no big deal. But yeah, take a look at it. Vote with your dollars, just like you do with entertainment, in my opinion, not to hijack your show and make it. I don't even consider this political. I consider this to be the survival of our species at this point.
I'm a survivor. Nerdporeal. How about you? What have you got coming up, mate? Have you got a stream coming up this weekend?
Actually, I don't. For Easter, I mean, I might. I did see the Mario movie. I really enjoyed it. I probably might.
Oh, good.
Put together a little review and everything. So expect to see that.
Yeah.
I'm working. I'm still hard at work on my Metroid retrospective. So
Nice.
expect that. And yeah, so more Picard season 3. 2 more weeks of it. 2 more weeks. So yeah.
How are we going to survive?
Thursday live watch and Friday discussion. Like,
You think Steve is going to make it through another episode? You
I don't think so. He did not even make it to tonight. Yeah.
I get it.
Did you break Steve Nerdporeal with Star Trek Picard?
He was. I was like, "Are you okay?" Like Steve, "Are you okay yesterday?" And he was just like, I don't think the peripheral even got him that upset compared to. No. He said this. He said he's like, this might be worse than Wheel of Prime. And then there's like, yeah. And then no, probably not. No. He's just he retracted that, but it was like he didn't break keyboards, but he was just
Rings of Power, Wheel of Prime. I think are worse than season 3 of Picard.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, that's a whole other show. We should talk about it sometime.
Well, I hope you have a very happy Easter and have a very nice weekend. Guys, I'm going to be on a late night stream. It starts at 11 p.m. my time. It's the Thinking Critical Comics Aficionados stream. So it's Saturday morning. I think it's from 10 a.m. Eastern. Looking forward to that. Cool. I might see Max there, MVP maybe. That'd be cool.
He's got merch now. Max has merch. Go check out
Max has merch.
MVP, Max Vale Priestley merch.
It's got MVP. I saw the baseball caps. It's like, ooh, look at that. Yeah, waiting for your baseball caps, Ollie.
I redesigned my logo. I sent a sample of my old logo, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but then I changed my. You guys don't care. I'm working on it. I'm working here.
I'm working
here.
I love the New York. That's just that New York dialect.
Oh yeah.
It sounded so natural, as you say, for an ad lib. I guess if it is really an ad lib, it was really good. He kept in character, and he gets angry, and his cigarette falls out of his mouth. If you notice it when you see it, that's so cool.
You know where I first heard that? I'm walking here from Back to the Future Part 2. Actually, when Marty Jr. does that.
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's like, I'm walking here. Don't drive drink. Yeah.
You guys are nerds. You guys are freaking nerds.
Are you calling us nerds, Soldy?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all that's left to say is we'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Hope to do a review next weekend. Not sure what it's going to be yet. Yeah. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Happy Easter, everybody, and take care. Stay Nerdporeal, stay Wakizashi Tea House, and stay Salty Traveling Sea.
Happy Easter.
Anybody else want sushi?